Welcome back into another episode of The Dig. I'm Jessica Coody and super excited for today's guest, first-time guest and new assistant coach to the staff this year, but been around for several years now, but officially on the staff this year, Brennan Hagar. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome, first time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we've been chatting a little bit. Your story is fascinating. Want to dive into that, let Husker fans get to know you a little bit more for those that don't know your story. But we got to start with last weekend, opening weekend. Wow, what a way out of the gate for Husker volleyball.
Yeah, it was insane. I think I was like almost emotional both times during the intros. It was just like so cool to be able to see that and get that reaction, especially in a new arena like that.
Yeah, how was Pinnacle Bank Arena? What were some of the adjustments that the players had to make going from Devaney to PBA?
Really, the only thing I had heard about was like the depth perception portion of it, passing and then a little bit serving. But other than that, I thought maybe the depth perception setting would be something that could be an issue. But Bergen and Campbell seemed to not really be fazed by it. But yeah.
So the middles played unbelievable. In fact, Andi Jackson was the MVP on Friday night, Rebekah Allick on Sunday. Does that make you the MVP coach?
You know what? If you want to say that, sure. Yes. Yeah. No, they brought it for sure. I think they set the tone for both games, and I think Dani wants to run the middle as much as possible. So I think that is a really great reflection of all the hard work that they've put in the spring.
For those that don't know, Brennan's coaching the middles, and so what a group that you have to step into. And really, I know you're helping Jalen last year with the middles, but what a special group you have to get to work with here in your first season as an assistant.
Yeah, I love them. I loved being around them. I mean, I've been here as long as Becca's been here, so I feel like we've kind of like been able to go through this together. And then, yeah, Kenna and Mania are so much fun. They're so dynamic. They bring kind of like different strengths into it, and maybe different things that we might play against. So I think it's great to just have four great middles who we could throw in at any time and do great.
You said Dani wants to set the middle. That's a big emphasis. What does that do for a team, for an offense, when you are able to utilize the middles, and especially the two that we're seeing a lot of with Rebekah and Andi?
I mean, it just opens up so much more for the heavy load players. So pins at all times. Like, I think you saw a few times that Stanford was biting with Andi and Becca on perfect pass situations, and that left Harper and Allie both like almost on an open net. So I think like you see most teams like set the middle early on, and then they kind of go away from them, go to their go-to player. And to be able to have two go-to players in the middle at the end of a match where you have to worry about Harper, Virginia, Allie, T, Taylor, anybody else that's around them, as well as the people down the middle, like it just makes it so hard to stop.
Okay, so I want to get into working with Dani Busboom Kelly and that conversation when she got here, and you know, she raves about the job that you've done already. But to get there, we got to go back. You know,
we do. Yes.
So you're from Wyoming.
I am.
Didn't play volleyball, but you come from a family that's got coaches, big sports family. So how did you even get into volleyball in Wyoming?
So my mom was always a coach. So as long as I can remember, I was the baby in the ball cart, getting hit with balls, like always playing, wanting to pepper, probably always in the way too. Yeah, I just loved it. I just loved how much my mom loved the sport, and she played at, it's now Colorado Mesa University. I think back then it was Mesa State. She was I think RMAC Player of the Year. She was in the Hall of Fame there now. So getting her to see like all of her accolades and just how much she loved it and how much it like impacted her life, it really left an imprint on me. And so I was like, oh, I'm gonna go do that. From, I think I was like 3 maybe, thinking that. And then obviously like being from Wyoming, that's not really an option, and there wasn't ever men's volleyball on, just based off of like where we were. My family on my mom's side's from Western Nebraska, so we've always been Husker fans and have kept up with like Husker football, basketball, but like especially volleyball was kind of like my interest. So they kind of like shaped how I played or had wanted to play. And then, yeah, I just had said that I don't want to play basketball in college, but had to be a 3-sport athlete because that wasn't an option. And I think it was like going into my junior and senior year, my parents really knew that that's like what I wanted to go do. So that they started to take that process a little bit more seriously. And there was an opportunity in 2017. It was my senior year. The national championship was in Kansas City. And at the same time, there was a boys showcase. So I got signed up for that. Just happened to work out where you get tickets for the game when you sign up. So was able to watch Nebraska win a national championship at the same place that my volleyball journey pretty much started. So from there, they film those showcases and kind of send it out to different colleges that are interested. And Ottawa was one of the first ones that had reached out and went on a visit, was offered a scholarship on my visit, kind of like played/tried out with the team. And then they actually got me set up with a club team out of Lincoln. I played with the High Flyers for one weekend, had 2 practices. Played in Arizona, and that was like the first time that I'd played with other guys. And it was great. It was some of like the best times of my life.
So you basically were just in the gym, kind of playing pickup ball, if you will.
Pickup, yeah. And there was also like a club team with a bunch of my friends on it. There was like a Norco team. So it was based out of Colorado, but they practiced and ran everything because it was just a bunch of Wyoming girls. Oh, that sounds bad. Not just a bunch of Wyoming girls, but like girls from Wyoming playing. And I would get invited to like practice with them. The coach of that team also knew that I wanted to go play. So it was like also a way for me to train, but I was obviously not playing against men.
Yeah. Okay, so then you play at Ottawa, and then when did you make the decision that you wanted to get into coaching?
So that was about in my junior year. So I started off like wanting to be like involved in film somehow. And I think like with the small selection of men's volleyball schools and that major, that really wasn't an option. And so my second option was physical therapy. I was like pretty good in science, like really good student. So thought that would be like a good route for me. I was just really enjoyed watching like how the body moves, how to help heal it, understand that part of athletics, and just wanting to be able to help athletes stay healthy, be healthy. And then about like halfway through, I realized that I didn't really want to go to school much longer than I had to, and was given an opportunity to coach camps at actually here, Husker volleyball camps, the summer going into my senior season. And that's when I was like, I should be doing this. But I also come from a long line of coaches, and they always joke like, oh, don't get into coaching. But like pretty much all of us do. It's in the blood, yeah.
So you work at camp here, and then after you graduate, right, you get a call from Coach, you email Coach Cook. How did that work? And then you became a graduate assistant here.
Yeah, so it was over Christmas break, and we were just kind of like talking like plans after, and I'm like just naively saying like, oh, I'm gonna work at Nebraska. Like, I'm gonna go to Nebraska. I've always wanted to go. This is like dream school, like outside of sports, just to be able to come here. Email him and was like, hey, I'm like a huge fan of the program. It's done a lot for me. I would love to be able to give back and to be a grad assistant for you guys. Kind of like told him the story. I felt like I sent it pretty late at night, so wasn't really expecting an email back. I think it was 8 a.m. the next day. I had an email back saying that sounds good. Great to hear from you. You're on Jalen's list. So, and yeah, the rest is pretty much history.
The rest is history. Wow. Lindsay was telling us that Coach Cook is not easy to impress, and you won him over quickly. What did you do when you got here that you really earned his respect and he trusted you so quickly?
I felt like I was just always voicing my opinion and kind of like staying true to like who I was. I also am kind of like ambidextrous. So when we would have, I think we played,
was it Wisconsin?
No, it was, I want to say it was Long Beach my first year maybe.
Okay.
And they had a left-handed girl, and he's like, well, how are we going to do this? And I was like, well, I can hit left-handed. He's like, really? It's like, yeah. And I was like, and I can switch the footwork. It's kind of like, I had wanted to be a setter and wasn't, so I like tried to train myself to be able to hit left-handed. And so I think that was the first thing. And then I was like pretty good on a slide. So I think that was like, whatever he needed me to do, I did my best to not like screw up. So
one of your first biggest roles is getting the team prepared by playing the other team's best player a lot of times.
at times, yes. Yeah.
So then I guess once you started diving into the film work part of it, because I know that's something that Dani Busboom Kelly's talked about, John Cook's talked about. You study film more than anybody they know. Why was that important for you? What do you enjoy about the film study part of it?
For me, I think it was just the upbringing in volleyball is that because I didn't really have any type of experience playing or anything, there was no film of me. So when I got to college, like watching myself, watching film, kind of like that breakdown of technique, how it should look, has always been like ingrained in me, and like especially in basketball. I was a big basketball player, and my dad was huge on it. The form needs to look good. It needs to not look bad. So I think that was really ingrained in my volleyball career as well. So just watching like how different players move, what made them so great. I think I was up pretty much every night watching a Nebraska volleyball game, like growing up, to the point where my parents would know that I was watching because they'd be able to hear the whistles going on and all the commentary. So I think that's like where I got the knack for it, of just watching how great players do different things, how they do different things well, and how I could like try to like replicate that. And so, yeah, I think that's why I really like that part of it.
Fascinating. Okay, so then Jordan Larson leaves and there's an opening on the staff. How did those conversations go? That I know it started with Coach Cook, right? And moving you into that role.
Yeah, so I had already planned to help in the spring. I was graduating this last spring with my master's, and then I was back home over Christmas break, and Lindsay had called me and said, hey, we want to offer you like the interim position, since we know like you're staying and you're finishing like your master's, would you be interested? And I was like, yes, absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of like how the process went. And then I get back onto campus, have a meeting with John, sorry, Coach. And yeah, he was just like, he would love for you to stay, help coach Beach. We don't really know if much of what your job will change, because you've been pretty much working like as an assistant, but not like with the title. So yeah, that's kind of how it worked. So
then Dani Busboom Kelly gets here and you win her over too. What was that process like of, you know, her finding an appreciation with you as well? Yeah, I think the biggest thing was I've always said like I'm not going to try to be something that I'm not. So if I was able to get Coach on my side, or be able to like vouch for me, then the same thing like should happen with Dani. I'd heard great things from Dani. I'd never met her before, just like in passing. So our first meeting, I just made sure that kind of like tell my story, just be like, this is what I've done. Do you need anything differently? What can I do? These are some things that we've been trying to do, or that I would love to try. And she was really open to it. And yeah, it's been great ever since. What are some of the things you've learned from her working under her? Oh my gosh, I think just her level of how to like approach a match like in game. Like you don't see like a whole lot of fluctuation in presence, or just like a sense of like overwhelming them. I think how you see her on the sidelines is kind of like how she approaches everything else, where it's just a very calm demeanor, kind of like relaxed, laid back, I think. And that's a great representation of like how she wants the players to play in a match, where like this last week, where it might be high stress, but if you're playing loose, you're playing free, and we're loose and we're free, the information is going to be responded better, and they're also going to play better. So you now are coaching the players that you had to battle against a lot, and you said you grew up kind of with Rebekah Allick. You've been here since she's been here. Yeah. How have you seen her grow, and what kind of mission is she on here going into her senior season? I think if you watch the game against Stanford, that is just a glimpse of what we've seen in the spring from her. She played great. There's still so much more left, and I think she would say the exact same thing. I think just her mindset of really taking ownership of, I'm not just a great blocker, like I'm going to be set too. And I think a lot of the training that we did in the spring has really paid off, and you've just been able to see her open up like
new tools and finding different ways of scoring, like people having to honor her, especially like late in a match, which is great.
So another thing I was told is that we're seeing Andi Jackson serve this year, and that's been a work in progress for a couple of years now. And I know we're a big help for her in that. Take us through that process and how much work she's put in to be able to be someone that is not just, hey, we're putting you back there, but is one of the weapons back there.
Yeah, so honestly, like Andi, even when she got here, has had probably some of the most like flawless float serve mechanics. Jalen and I had talked about that, like when she had gotten to campus, is just like her toss, how she jumps, how she gets to the ball, her draw from like where her elbow is really, really good, but it has changed. She kind of has brought this new serve with her, and so I didn't really know how to train what she's doing, so it was just a lot of, again, watching film of other players do it, and just making sure that like she felt she was more consistent doing it this way. It's like, perfect, sounds good. Freedom for you. And so just making sure that it's like very like little like discrepancies of whether or not the serve is great. And I think the biggest reason why she's back there is just like her mindset. I feel like a big reason why she wasn't serving at like her first 2 years is just, it's a lot, like as a middle, being able to know the attacker's tendencies and then also having to go back and hit your serving zone and like play defense and add a system set as well. So I think she's really taken pride like in her craft, which is something that I try to like preach, is you're not just in the middle, we're a volleyball player. We're going to be great defenders. We're going to be great blockers, great servers, great setters. That's like a big one. We're going to be great defenders, like floor defense as well.
How many times are you just wowed by what Andi Jackson can do?
It's a lot. There's a lot of me just with my mouth open, just almost in shock. Yeah, we had worked on a few new things with her and like with the other middles, and it's like the execution for an athlete of like her caliber it's really impressive to watch.
For the record, she can dunk a basketball, right?
I would assume so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I've seen it, but
pretty sure.
Yeah, pretty sure. She
Yeah.
can, yeah.
You had mentioned those other two middles, the freshmen. They came in. They weren't here in the spring. What have they added? And even if their playing time might be a little bit more limited behind the two that we just talked about, probably the best 1-2 middle punch in the country. But what have Kenna and Mania brought to the team, and how have you seen them kind of embrace whatever role they might need to be in this year?
They are both like really good blockers. Mania is very, I think, reflective of Becca in terms of like her eyesight and like what she's seeing. She doesn't need to maybe take as many steps as other middles do because she's able to cover so much ground. And I think Kenna's deceivingly huge, like in terms of her block. It's just like little technique things like here and there of when she gets used, but she takes up a lot of space like they both do. So I think it's really good that our third and fourth middles could start anywhere else, and like their job is to push the other two, and they've made Andi and Becca better, and that was evident from like the first time that I think they both bounce blocked both of them. And so I think Andi and Becca had learned really quick that it's like, it's war every day, and like having the mindset of no one's spot is safe, but like in a healthy way. I think that's been huge for the growth and development of Andi and Becca, and also Ken and Mania, because they're looking up and training underneath two great middles.
Everyone said that you've made the transition so well from being, maybe more of a peer you're practicing, you're more their age, to now being a leader and their coach. What has that transition been like? How was it difficult at all for you?
I think I'm going to say like not really, just because I had such a great relationship with Andi and Becca that there was a level of trust settled there they knew that how much I cared about them and worked like alongside Jalen. Jalen had set like a huge foundation for them of this is what we're going to do. I like was there pretty much in all the meetings, learning from, I think he's a phenomenal coach. So it's not a lot has changed in terms of terminology and what we're trying to do. It's just maybe hearing it from somebody else. And so, yeah.
Did you ever, like, on the sideline from when you're a GA to when now, I mean, this past weekend, have to pinch yourself? I mean, look at your story where you grew up a Husker fan watching this film, and now here you are on the staff coaching this amazing team in front of 15,000 people plus in PBA.
It's almost every day where I'm glad that I don't really get as nervous anymore. Some of like our other GAs are like, "Oh, are you nervous like for coaching in your first match?" I'm like, "No, not really." But I do remember the first red white, and I don't think I slept the night before. Was in a full panic, historically known for having sweaty palms. So they were just fully, the sweat was going. It's definitely unreal to think about that this is actually happening.
What do you hope people learn from your journey, your story? I mean, it wasn't easy for you to get here, and it's something that you wanted to do and you made it happen.
Yeah, I think like manifesting is a huge thing. Pretty much manifested this from a really young age that I was going to somehow get here. I just hope that more men's volleyball players go and do this, especially when the odds are stacked against you. There were, I can't think of how many more men's players from Wyoming after me went on and played, but there were a few. So that was cool to see, like a little bit of growth, like in that. I know that Wyoming's trying to get men's volleyball going. It's probably like with the population and just kind of like resources, it may not happen as quickly, but I do know that that's something that has been talked about. So I think that that's great that hopefully maybe I can help in some sort of way, and offer advice or, be a voice for those who don't have those opportunities, who have a similar background as mine.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so I always like to kind of end on previewing this weekend. And we talked about it at the beginning. What a way to come out of the gate. How do you build off of that? What's kind of the approach for this team, being that you had such an incredible opening weekend, carrying it over into weekend number 2?
I think that it just means that middles are going to have to work even harder, because now teams are going to scout against us and really know that that's what we like to do. And so now it's kind of like my job, Kelly and Jalen, to figure out how do we push the envelope for like the predictability of what the offense looks like, and really help Dani with anything related to the offense, or also like defensively. I think that's about it.
How good has Bergen been in building that relationship where she does feel that trust with setting the middles a lot more this season?
Bergen is great. I think it's just like her personality is that she wants to be able to do that. I think Campbell has also helped in that aspect, where like this freshman group has really pushed every position to like max out. Dani had talked about that's the goal for like every player, no matter starter, serving sub, maybe whoever red shirts, like, is to max out whatever their peak is for this year. And I think that started with that freshman group, and it's really pushed and helped like Bergen grow. And I think we really saw what she's capable of against that Stanford match. I think she was really good and made us really good. So.
Well, great job on your first appearance. You'll come back again?
Oh, I will. Yes. Yeah. Hopefully not as sweaty this time.
Great stuff. Loved hearing your story, and just your perspective on these middles going to be a huge part of this team this year, no doubt. And appreciate the patience, and for the folks watching, still work being done here in the studio. So it was going on during this entire podcast. So you were, they were right, you were looking at them. So you held it together really well. That was impressive.
Thank you.
So,
yeah.
Brennan Hagar with us here on The Dig, his first appearance, first of many throughout the season as we rotate through all of the different assistant coaches. The Dig is powered by Emeritus, and Emeritus is proud to power this podcast and all of Husker women's sports.